Hello everyone, Future Tom here. Unfortunately, we ran into some technical difficulties while recording the newest episode of Two Guys Talking Toys, or rather, Zoom ran into some technical difficulties while recording the newest episode of Two Guys Talking Toys. I've managed to cobble together an episode that kind of ends a little abruptly, unfortunately, but I'm going to see if I can pull some of the more usable parts from the back end and see if I can maybe throw those up as shorts later on in the week. So, hope you enjoy what I was able to save and enjoy the episode.
Hello, Tom.
Dana, what's going on? I like your hoodie.
Thanks. It's for the American Art Association.
Strong hearts mean a strong body and mind.
Yes. Keep up your cardio, Tom. How's your day going?
You know what? I've been awake for about a half hour, so not too bad. My thought last night was, oh, okay, go. We're gonna record. I'll get up early. I'm gonna go get like a hash brown or something and some coffee, and then I'll be good to go. And around 4:30 a.m., I started to realize that's probably not going to happen. Right. And lo and behold, that did not happen. So I am newly conscious.
I did get up early. I was up at 6.
Wow.
And I was I got some laundry done. I got the camper cleaned out, which was a bigger endeavor than I thought it was going to be. I moved a couple things to storage.
I don't remember the last time I was conscious during the hours of 6, 7, or 8 o'clock. So I don't know those hours exist anymore.
So I've been awake for 6.5 hours to your
wow. Well, this puts us in the perfect mindset to do another episode of Two Guys Talking Toys.
That is correct. So in the half hour that you have been amongst the living, did you get anything new?
No, but I did get stuff a couple days ago.
Oh, okay, that's fair enough.
So I have to give thanks to my buddy Eric, who randomly sent me a text. I think it was Monday or Tuesday, about Walmart getting some new Transformers stuff, because it's been a lot of Transformers 1 merchandise since the movie came out, and it's kind of been sitting there, and a lot of the merch has what was going to sell sold, and what was not going to sell sat there.
I think it's funny that we all work together. We're all like, we have a CI to tell us like when when stuff is in different stores, right?
Yeah, it's a nice network, and you wind up developing one if you talk to any, or if you have any buddies who just happen to be toy collectors, and you're texting each other. You and I are not the most social people in the world, so it is kind of amazing that we bumped into one another, discovered we had similar interests, and hang out now.
Right. I love when I go to the store, I'm like, oh, I have to bring my phone. Like, I don't want to forget. And people are like, why do you? I was like, in case I need to send Tom a picture of something.
Yeah. Yep. You send me pictures of stuff you find in the store. I send you random updates on the Pulse streams that happen. Like the Joe stream that happened. Was it last week? No, this week. They did like a Cold Slither style thing and introduced a whole bunch of new stuff. But yeah, it's kind of neat to have a few people who are in the know, who are not going to wipe out an entire section. But Walmart has refreshed their Transformers section, which, in a move that I feel like it was surprisingly synchronized across Walmart, because
it never happens.
Yeah, I don't. If only they ran their collector con this efficiently. But Eric sent me a text, and he's like, "Oh, looks like someone in stock is also a Transformers fan, because there was only a couple of newer studio series things." And I was like, "Oh, let me go check," because I had just been to all the Walmarts in my area Saturday, and I was like, "Did they have anything new?" And I went, and lo and behold, they got themselves some new Transformers. So we get 2 of the aerial bots in this wave.
Nice.
Plus Wasp from Transformers Animated, and the Age of the Prime is in full swing. So I picked up Solus Prime, and I think this is cool. The full deluxe wave. It's kind of a shame, because the whole legacy of the Primes thing is that they're these there's the 12 primes, and they tried to go real, almost kind of biblical with them, and the 12 primes came from Primus, and all the artwork of them have them standing as like, this giant pantheon of mythical characters, but Solus Prime is a deluxe, which is kind of unfortunate. It's a female
they
character.
Would have made a bigger deal, and
yeah, like I figure the smallest of the primes should be Voyager size, or much larger than a deluxe. And I don't know if that's because it's a female character or what, but it a little bit of a bummer, because I believe the other primes are going to be coming out, like the Prima Prime, I believe, is a Voyager. Megatronus is going to be massive. I think there is a smaller one named, is it Micronus Prime? I think he's a deluxe too, but that was also like, that was his gimmick, that being Micronus, I'm sure. But kind of cool
like
that
Harry Potter spell.
Micronus Maximus. Wait, which way am I going? I'm not sure. But yeah, so that was kind of cool to get all these sides. Also, the way that the box, am I holding it correctly? The way that the side of the box art lines up, I guess you can form the hull of the primes.
Oh, that's neat. It looks
I probably
one off.
up. Yeah. But that's also kind of a neat thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
So if you're an inbox collector, that's a cool way to display your stuff. I am not. These are being opened and this box is being thrown out. But it is kind of neat to be that we're on the way. So they've now done. We've gotten a full Menasor done in like the new combiner style. They had revealed that they were doing the aerial bots before anyway. I think Silverbolt's coming out later this year. So two down, 3 to go. So that's kind of neat. And Agent of Primes is a cool concept. So I hope they manage to do everybody, and we don't have random primes left out of this.
It would make sense to leave them out.
Because they've done a lot of like kind of stutter stop. Like they've started and then they've stopped and then they've abandoned the idea and they've come back to it and tweaked it. So hopefully they go all the way with this. And also got myself a box. I got myself a new box.
Big blue one.
And I believe I know what's in here because there's a wave of.
I bet it's a toy. It's a toy.
It's some type of toy style character. So this is
neat.
Of all the figures to open, because I actually have a few different boxes. This is Fabian Cortez of X-Men fame.
I never liked that character. I mean, you're not supposed to like him, but I never liked him.
Fabian Cortez, and I don't know, I got to assume this is on purpose. Fabian Cortez is the name of the most hated person in the preppiest of prep schools. Like, he's the bully in that weird Dawson's Creek style school that whoever went to. Like, that's the name that comes from. It has to be really? Fabian Cortez. What a jerk. I don't know for a fact, but like it has.
That's not the sense I get out of the name.
His name is Fabian Cortez.
I think of something like, hanging out with Ponce de Leon, that kind of. But yeah, he's definitely a douche, though.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's kind of weird because I don't know if I'm going to keep him or not. But you kind of need him. Like if there's ever a human version of Starscream that existed, it's Fabian Cortez. So you kind of need him to stand next to Magneto scheming to take over. But I am very excited for the Build-A-Figure that comes with this wave. They're doing Nemesis from Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah, it's cool.
Smart of them to call him Nemesis. We can't call him Holocaust, understandably. Mm-hmm. But I also kind of hope this is his later look. I don't know how well it comes across on my camera there, but this is kind of his later look when his armor was more, metallic looking. And the original version of him had that really cool. He was all yellow and all clear and just energy in a suit. So I kind of hope.
I like that version.
Yeah, and we did get a Build-A-Figure of that in like early Hasbro Marvel Legends, but it's very aged. It's very of its time. So
it definitely is.
I would like to see a newer version of that. I don't know why they're afraid of using clear plastics. I don't know, because we've gotten Miles Morales in a fully clear. They've done the Invisible Woman,
Mhm.
and they've done previous figures clear. So I'm not quite sure what the resistance is. So I hope that at some point maybe we get, even if it's just a slightly tweaked
I mean,
version
they've
of this
got a whole
Build-A-Figure.
line of the Black Box series people that are clear.
Yeah. Yes, I don't really know what the resistance is. I'm still waiting on my camouflage Venom if we're doing all the homages to Toy Biz.
Right.
And I'd still nothing. A lot of Hydro Man is there's a clear blue Hydro Man that came in the Fox 2-packs. So I'm not quite
Correct.
sure. I do hope that we wind up getting a clear yellowish version of Nemesis though, because that
Right.
is a super cool look. So if they slightly maybe like retool the mold a little bit to give it that original style
Right.
look, I would be on board for that. So I hope.
I both love and hate that they kept him in that Fabian Cortez in that outfit, because that outfit
Mhm.
is part of the reason why I hate them. Like that whole that
Oh,
timeline with
don't like
the acolytes,
the super 90s,
right, yeah,
super
that whole
asteroid M
and it's
attire.
like, what are you doing, man?
Look, we needed to synchronize our fashion, and
Right.
everyone that works on Asteroid M gets a cape and some kind of letter on their chest.
Yeah.
Like, it really is just like a high school gym team where they had to get the letter jacket. They needed
They look
they all
like
needed to
the
be the
bad
same.
guys from like Running Man.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was a partial influence for the way that a lot of those characters they all had a little headset
Yeah,
that they
terrible.
wore on there.
It's terrible. And that, like what Scott Summers looked like during that time, but horrible.
And like you needed either a perm, a pompadour, or some kind of mullet going on.
Ponytailed mullet. Yeah.
Even Superman wasn't safe from it.
Yeah. The 90s.
So, what have you found this week?
It finally went down on a clearance that I found acceptable. And I know next week it's going to be even cheaper probably, but I bought it. I finally got Prince Adam.
Yes.
And Cringer. They went down to $20.
Ah, good job.
I love this pose because it looks like he's like, don't I look like He-Man?
I don't know what you're talking about. He-Man? Who's that guy?
Hey, I look like He-Man.
We're talking about that He-Man again.
Yeah. And I like, I love that we finally got Cringer at this size. Fantastic. Cringer. Yeah. And I plan on making him snuggle Adam and Adam having his content face.
Yeah, but find like a little section of hay, and you can lean them back in there where they're both just hanging out, being irresponsible, sleeping while instead of going to the king's coronation.
It's a little thing.
Disappointing his father.
The scared head, the extra head they give you, has the articulated jaw.
Oh, that's neat.
The other one doesn't. I wish they both had the articulated jaw. That
would have been nice. Yeah. Now I immediately want that Cringer to be repainted purple with a new head for a slightly angsty teenage Panther.
Yeah. I do. His back legs are weird. Like he's designed to like sit.
Oh, can he only sit, or can he stand up straight?
You can stand him, but he's got that, like these knees right here don't straighten out. Like they pivot, they're articulated, but they don't.
That's not a proper decision.
Knee. Yeah, so he's really designed to sit.
He's either sitting or it looks like he's about to poo in the castle. And they're like, Cringer, no.
Yeah, he's even got that look on his face, like, oops,
don't look at me. Litter box is outside, Cringer.
Yeah, if we could straighten those back legs, would really be the only thing that.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, it's like pre-posed, like tease, like it's a tease.
Mm-hmm.
It's pre-posed, but they tease you to think it's not.
Like, could he be standing up now? Nope. He is like early Mega Man who just wants some knees so he can bend properly.
Well, it's He-Man tradition to be squatting.
That is true. He's bringing it back.
Yeah. So, Tom, what are we talking about this week?
Wow, you were on top of it. It's just getting ready to transition into this. So we sorry,
I robbed you of your segue.
Get on with it, man. So talking about what we got this week, like you found stuff, at Target, I found stuff at Walmart, and I think about the way that we find things now is a little bit different from the way that we found things then, but we always have a variety of places to get things from. But usually week to week, we're talking about Target, Walmart, or Amazon. And I want to kind of swing the pendulum back to when we first started buying things or bugging our parents to buy things,
I
and
still
talk
bug my
about
grandpa.
the places that we used to buy toys from, because it has changed over the years, and
Yeah, I like the old way
the way
better.
in which we buy things has changed over the years. So like because some of my earliest memories are being in, say like King Cullen with your parents, and even a shopping trip that maybe took a half hour to get some basic groceries felt like a 3 hour Lord of the Rings epic as a kid, because you've got to stand by their side, you can't wander off and have your own adventure, you can't go down the cereal aisle to stare at the mascots, you got to stay behind the cart. And then you get to the line, and the checkout line is just waiting for like the death line at Mordor, and you're like, oh my lord, when is this gonna end? But marketing geniuses decided to torment parents by putting that rack of toys directly eye level with kids,
Right.
and it wasn't anything special. It was just like your generic, like a generic bag of dinosaurs, like just the
I
one
know those
slug
parachute
dinosaurs.
guys.
Yeah, and that would be like your first, oh, I want that, oh, I'm
Right.
interested
And
in
you
this.
didn't
And
really want it. It was just out of pure boredom. You're like, that
yeah, it
toy
was just something,
sucks, but I want it because it's the most
something
exciting
interesting.
thing in this building right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you try to explain it to your parents like they didn't know what it was. You're like, no, mom, look, because you throw them up in the air and then the parachute opens, and isn't that cool? And give me 30 cents, I want it. And you either got it or you didn't. But like I remember, and I feel like most people remember being in the store and seeing that thing you want, or if your parents just didn't want to deal with you because you were being ridiculous, they'd send you over to right by the exit was, which was not safe, because at any point in time, Punky Brewster's dad could have shown up and just swiped you.
Right.
Uh, you'd be over by the gumball machines, and the gumball machines would sometimes have like you had the 10-cent lemon gum and whatever, but above that was the 25-cent
The
gumball toy
robots.
machines. Yeah, we had like the generic equally cheap, badly made whatever that came from overseas, where you'd be like the robot, the spider ring or whatever special ring thing.
Mhm.
And you just go and look. Like I know growing up, we weren't rich, so I did a lot of window shopping, which is why I think I'm so content to window shop,
Mhm.
as opposed to, granted, I do a lot of I need everything. If there's
Right.
a special interest that I have, I need all of it. But I'm also very content to just look, because it is ingrained in me very early.
Yeah.
You're not getting that. You're not getting
As
that.
for me, I
So
enjoy window shopping. I do.
mhm. Yeah. So I guess from the grocery store to that, like maybe they would go somewhere else. You would go into, say, like even a Genovese, like your generic drugstore. Even
Yeah.
they had, that was the first time that I saw GI Joe figures, was in a Genovese that was just down a random aisle, and they had, it wasn't more than maybe one or two sections of just a random selection of toys. But I remember seeing Snake Eye, whatever version of Snake Eyes was out. That was where the first time I saw the Alley Viper, because he stood out because he was super orange.
Orange. Yeah.
Um, but I but I remember seeing those, and I wasn't huge into GI Joe, but it was
I
interesting to
know. I
me
try
that
not to hold that against you.
we walked
But
two
I
different
wasn't I
roads as
wasn't that
kids.
much into Transformers, so there we go.
Yeah.
So I guess
So
we're
what do you remember
reminiscing
from that
about,
time?
yeah, we're reminiscing about toy stores when we were young. Yeah, I remember the Genovese, the same one
Hmm.
you're talking about. My
Hmm.
parents used to bowl at the bowling alley that was across the street from
Oh,
that
okay.
shopping center. So
Hmm.
we would meander over there and
Yeah.
go into Genovese and McCrory's.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh, McCrory's.
yeah, I seem to
Them I
remember
remember.
getting more at McCrory's than I
Yes,
did at Genovese. Of course,
because
neither of those stores still exist. But
no,
and they were just, for our loyal listeners, they were kind of like not convenience stores. They were
yeah,
more
like
like
if you,
Genovese was more like a CVS or a Walgreens.
yeah,
And
yeah,
McCrory's
much
was
more of a
like
drugstore.
a mini kind of department store.
Yeah,
But not as big as, yeah.
if you shrank Kmart into a Pokeball, you would have McCrory's.
Right. Yeah. And then there was that. But here, talking about, annoying your parents with those little toys. Here's a trick my dad used to do all the time, and he used to annoy me. So we'd be out doing our thing, right? I never passed up an opportunity to go to the store with my parents. It boggles
Mhm.
my mind now because kids are all so overstimulated now, right? Like I didn't have a TV in my room. I didn't
Yeah.
have a cell phone, right? So
Mhm.
if one of my parents said, I'm going anywhere, I was like, oh, I'll go with you, even into like
Yeah.
my teen years, right?
Mhm.
Because there were more stores, like just down
Mhm.
Sunrise Highway when we
Yeah.
were a kid, right? You had Modell's, Play World,
Yeah.
Toys R Us, Child World, the flea market, like just in a couple of
Mhm.
mile stretch of Sunrise Highway,
Mhm.
and all that's gone now. All you have is Target, right? There isn't
Yeah.
even a Walmart off Sunrise Highway. So anywhere they had to go, Modell's or wherever, there was a section for me to go explore. And then
Yeah.
always on the way home, it was, Dad, can we stop at Play World or Child World or Toys R Us or whatever? And
Mhm.
he would inevitably say, we'll see, which
that was
is
always the
code for
pacifier.
no, right? But we'll
Just
see, even though I know historically
mhm.
that meant no, we'll
Yeah.
see still gave me hope.
Yeah.
And then, so we're approaching Toys R Us, and I would send up the reminder, Dad, remember, I would like to go to Toys R Us. No response, because the
Mhm.
response is acknowledging receipt of the message, right? So, and then we get right at, like, I could see Toys R Us. We're passing it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, Dad, Toys R Us. And he'd say, well, it's too late. You can't tell me when I'm passing it. And I was like,
Ah,
Dad, I know damn
this,
well. You know where Toys R Us is. This
this
is
isn't new
not
to
a
you.
surprise.
You're the one operating the vehicle. You know how this works.
Right? This is not a surprise, man. I know you know where Toys R Us was.
In their head, they're like, I just want to get home. I just
Right. Yeah.
want to get home.
Yeah.
But there was always that hope that maybe they would have forgotten something. Yeah, either at like Modell's or like at Caldor's, and they'd have to either turn back or be like, oh, since I'm on the way, I need to stop by wherever
Yeah.
else and get XYZ. And that would be your opportunity to go and yeah, like window shop. Like
Yeah.
I did not expect to get anything
I
after a certain point in time, and it just became, well, I want to at least see if there are any cool things that are going on there.
The world changed about, I don't know how many years ago now, but probably around 8 years ago. The world changed in three areas that I just couldn't understand. One, toy stores vanished.
Yeah.
Kids weren't buying enough toys anymore to
Hmm.
support toy stores. And
Hmm.
it was growing that way, but we finally lost Toys R Us
Yeah.
at that time, right? But we had already lost, oh, and another big one we lost, um, FOA Schwartz. We lost at that
Yeah.
same time, right?
Yeah.
We lost those, but leading up to that, we lost KB Toys and Hobby first. Then we
Hmm.
lost Play World. Then we lost Child World. All of that stuff happened. So kids weren't buying enough toys. That was number one
Hmm.
sign of the apocalypse. Number two sign of the apocalypse, SpongeBob the musical won 12 Tony Awards. That was the other sign of the apocalypse. And the women of the world decided they wanted bigger butts. So these are like,
What?
yeah.
Where
So
are
it's
we going
like,
with this?
that was because of the Kardashians. But I remember like these three things happened, and I was like, the world makes no sense anymore. I don't like
I,
women used
I
to
mean,
talk about the opposite, and suddenly it changed. I don't know what's going on. The world makes no
I mean,
sense.
listen, Sir Mix-a-Lot, the visionary, the man, the myth, the legend, really
Yeah,
put everything into
he
perspective
did.
with
He
his
did.
song.
Yeah,
So
he
I
did.
feel like he kind of helped bring everything back. But
Right.
let's
That's a whole different
bring this back.
podcast.
Yeah,
But
let's bring this back
the
to
fact
old
that
school toy collecting when we were happy.
the fact that toy stores went out of business is
Mhm.
frightening. Like it was definitely a culture shift in what our kids were doing.
Yeah.
So when I reminisce about Play World and Toys R Us and Child World, I don't know why I can't say that this today, but um, Man, those were like that was heaven. That's the reason why you got an allowance. That's the reason why you mowed the
Mm,
lawn and took out the garbage, is
yeah.
because of those stores.
Describe Child World to me because I actually never went there.
Well, it was a big building full of toys.
I mean, I need to know what kind of material was used to erect the
Yeah,
structure.
it was.
Was it, when they
It
say
was
brick and mortar, was it in fact brick and mortar?
no.
Did it
It
have
had
asbestos?
the pebble look. Like
Uh,
it wasn't as glamorous as Toys R Us. Like they always had the big sign. Play
yeah,
World had a Child World was very like nondescript, big tan building, square, looked like a warehouse. But when you went into it, of course, it was
huh.
wonderful. Yeah, but that was the first one gone. I think it went before Play World
Yeah,
did,
because
and
I
it was
do not.
down the road, right down there in Sunrise.
Oh, that's interesting. I actually never went to Child World. Play World was always my big. That was the big destination for.
Right.
We're gonna go. We're gonna look at like toys, like just dedicated to like we're specifically going here to look at
Yeah.
toys, and you're probably gonna get something. And Play World was the destination for that. Even though we've talked about it before, Modell's being pre only sporting goods, being a full on department store was also really good about getting. That's where I saw
Modell's
newer
had good
things.
toys.
Yeah.
Modell's is the only place I remember seeing the little animated movie Lord of the Ring figures.
Hmm.
They were great. I got those at Modell's. And I
Yeah.
got the like 5-inch die cast Batman figure
Hmm.
also at Modell's. Like
Yeah.
Modell's had stuff you weren't finding anywhere else. It was cool.
Yeah, they had play. I remember them having play set. I remember the approach to the toy section because that was always also kind of a big thing. Like you'd get into the store and I have no clue where my parents went. I knew
Right.
where I was going and they were going to let me go there on my own, and that was a big deal because I was a big kid then. And
I'm
you
a big kid now.
yeah, head into the toy section of Modell's. You can't stop me. And this is probably why my parents had no worries. Well, a lot of parents didn't have worries of their kids getting abducted because it was like the 80s.
Well,
But
and they secretly
I,
didn't want them.
yeah, they're like, please take them. And no one no one wanted them.
Yeah.
But like walking through, they knew there was nothing that was going to stop me from getting to the toy section. If some rando showed up and was like, "Hey kid, want a puppy?" and I would pie face and be like, "Out of my face! I gotta go stare at toys. I'm not gonna be allowed to buy."
Right.
But I remember walking down the aisle and you pass like the clothing, the pet section, which I might pause and be like, "Ooh, fish."
Right.
But then you keep going, and then there's the bikes, and you'd see the overhanging bikes, and then toys. And
Right,
it
the
was
bikes was always whenever you went to a new department store,
Mhm.
you'd scan the horizon for the bikes,
Yep.
and that was your
You knew
compass star.
you knew toys were close by. Then you do the Indiana Jones map and make your way your way down
Yeah,
to find the toys. But like yeah, I remember going through and they had like the newest play sets. I remember them having the slime pit. I remember them having Inhumanoids, and it was before I'd seen them anywhere else. Like granted, McCrory's wasn't going to be getting
right.
Humanoids or anything like that because they were a smaller establishment, but they did get replacement slime for the slime pit.
They did. They did.
I I remember getting the slime pit for a birthday, and you immediately do all the things you're not supposed to do with the slime. You pour it on Grizzlor, you pour it
Mhm.
on your rug, you pour it in the dirt, and it becomes unusable. And then Mattel was smart enough to do replacement slime canisters. And I remember getting one from McCrory's and it being yucky, gross film as opposed to the proper consistency for slime. It was just
Yeah.
a nasty liquid that would pour out. And I was like, oh, this
That's when
truly
you
is
know.
evil.
That's when you know you're really sick when that happens.
Yep.
Here's the thing that I don't know. So here's one of the reasons why I miss toy stores so
Mhm.
much. Even GameStop has gone bye-bye.
Yeah.
I don't think my father and I shared this.
Mhm.
Like I experienced joy every time I walked into a toy store, even
Mhm.
if I didn't get anything. It
Yeah.
just, as a kid. Um, One, because we went and it meant somebody was listening to me when I made a request. Like me and my two
Mhm.
brothers, if we made a request to go to the toy store and we got to go, it
Mhm.
meant we were being listened to, that we desired something that would make us happy and we got to go.
Mhm.
But as a grown up, I really missed toy stores when Toys R Us went out because it was something Jared and I shared.
Yeah.
So I would feel joy in the store, not only because toys bring me joy,
Hmm.
but because I was there with Jared and it was
Yeah.
our time out. We would go, and I think I've mentioned on here before, like we had a night where Ava went to dance and he and I would do Toys R Us, GameStop, Target,
Hmm.
Walmart, Reese's peanut butter cups back home. And and it's what we did. And
Hmm.
I looked forward to it. We would sit in the
Yeah.
car and BS about the toys we just saw, or
Hmm.
because Skylanders was big at the time, so
Yes.
he was looking for
Yeah. That.
those while I was
Mhm.
looking for action figures, and then he
Hmm.
started getting into other figures, and it's that experience of walking into a store. Until still today, when I walk into a store, I feel joy. When we
Hmm.
walk into Retro Relics every week, I
Hmm.
feel joy. And I walk around and I look at old stuff and new stuff. And you know, and I get to share that with you, which I
Hmm.
appreciate. But
Hmm.
um I miss that. And you would have multiple. It was like when they were all close, right?
Yeah.
We'd have multiple uh, like feelings of joy because we'd go from one spot to another and it was a
Hmm.
whole evening together. But I
Yeah.
miss that feeling. Like I don't experience joy. Now I experience joy when they come in the mail, but
Yeah.
I don't experience joy shopping online. It's
Hmm.
not experiential to me. I'm just
Hmm.
sitting on my couch or sitting at a desk. Uh, Not that I do a lot of toy shopping at work, but it's not as joyous. It's not. It's just scrolling. And but now when they show
Hmm.
up at the house, it's
Hmm.
joy. But I miss the the seeking, the finding. That's
Yeah.
what toy stores gave you. That discovery, the joy of discovery.
Yeah. You also enjoyed the I guess kind of the thrill of the hunt.
I do.
Uh. Well, I like
That's
when you
why I keep
mentioned.
saying, Tom, I'm going to give you a 5 minute head start into the woods, and you never go.
That's because you're talking about the woods, which is the place that I don't feel anyone should be going into. It's very strange to me. We live indoors for a reason. We have indoor plumbing and things. Why do you want to go back out there? We came in from there. I I'm very. It's the same conversation I have with my cat. I just let you in. Why do you want to
Right.
go back out there? There's nothing for you out there
What
except danger.
what toy store brought you the most joy when you got to walk in?
Uh,
I do remember you brought it up like the first time your parents say to you, "Why don't you go to the toy section and let us do our thing?" Like that
mhm.
first time, like, and I
Yeah,
think it was Modell's. I think it was in Modell's, and my parents were like, "Just go."
yeah, like they know where it is. They know where you are,
Yeah.
and like I said, nothing was going to stop me from getting there because that was that was the
Right.
most
Right. Right.
important place in the world for me to be. Um, but I like you said before about having that experience of going with Jared and yeah, like that was kind of like your routine, and then the joy of finding something and maybe seeing him discover something. Um, I it's interesting to think about that kind of transition from I go to look for stuff to enjoy what it is that I found or what I've discovered. And now that you had kids, I had my nephews, being able to take them to a toy store when they're little, or even if I just went before I started
Oh, even
driving.
now, if
And,
Jared joins me to go somewhere, it's exciting.
mhm. Yeah, and being able to walk through. I remember, and I may have told the story before when my nephew was really my oldest nephew when he was really little, and I go to the whatever store, and if my sister was looking for something, I would take him, and I've never stopped going to the toy section, so I'm like, I'm gonna look for toys while you do whatever shopping that you need to. I will bring the boys with me because they
Right,
want to come
right.
with me and look at toys instead of looking at brand cereal with
Mhm.
you. And I remember being in Toys R Us and looking through toy stuff, and yeah, this was when Skylanders was big, and I remember thinking to myself, maybe I should try to work some educational things in there, like for brownie points, whatever, just to be like the cool uncle. And Tyler is so super smart. As a child, was able to like work numbers in a way that better than I probably can now. And I remember explaining taxes to him explaining sales tax to him, because that was a lesson that I learned in McCrory's when I was little, because no one ever explained to me that the price you see on a figure or a price you see on the product is not what you actually have to pay. So as a kid, I was like, this says $3. So I have $3. And I remember getting, I don't know, it was like a rubber snake or something small. And I get up to the register and it's whatever amount, and the cashier tells me a number that is higher than what I'm looking at. And I, as a kid, because my parents trusted me enough to send me in by myself to get that thing that I wanted, being like, hey, what are you trying to pull here? And the catcher's like, it's this amount, there's tax. And I was like, I don't understand what you're saying. So I wound up giving them extra money. So when I had my nephew in Toys R Us, I was like, okay, Tyler, this item is this much, but tax means that, for every dollar you have to be charged whatever amount. And I made it into a game, and I was like, I was more gainfully employed at the time, so I had money. So I was like, okay, how about this? If you can tell me what the tax would be, or give me, I was doing prices right. If you can give me the general retail price of this item plus tax, it's yours. Which got him motivated. So he would look at it, and he got me because I didn't think he was that good at math. So he'd look at whatever items and be like, this is this much. And I was like, oh my Lord, he's right. And then I would walk over with this, whatever giant item. You're like, Tanya, I made a deal with your son, and he won.
Backfired.
And your child is smarter than me, so he's getting this as a reward. But it was a fun experience.
Right. My tax lesson was in Modell's, and I remember it was buying Duke. It was buying Duke, and I had $4, and he was $3.99. Yep. And
You're like, I want to get a penny back. Awesome.
I was like, this is awesome. I have enough to get Duke. And my dad was like, well,
you kind of don't.
And I was like, coming in for Big Fudge? That makes no sense. What you talking about, Dad? That makes no sense.
What do you mean? Why are they lying? Why have we accepted lies on the? I don't understand. This is not the proper way to run a business. We shouldn't come back here. Just kidding.
BS.
Yeah, like what are you trying to pull here, Mr. Cash Register Man?
Get Ronald Reagan on the phone. I need to talk to him right now.
Tell him the trickle down. It's not working. It's not working, Ron. But yeah, it was a fun. But I also I liked the kind of the transition from for a certain period of your life you're going and you're looking for you, or earlier. Like you said, with your dad, with your brothers, you had that experience of going, especially if your dad or your parent took you specifically to the toy store. I remember even if I asked to go, and if just be on the way, if I was like, can we stop by Cheap John's? Holy cow, remember Cheap John's?
Cheap John's.
I remember the commercials on the radio, the weird.
Now it's Ollie's, but Cheap John's.
Yeah. And it was just a super generic, for people that do not know, Cheap John's was just another super kind of generic mini department store that had not a whole lot of shelving, if I remember correctly. There was a lot of like open tables. And it was almost like a mini flea market.
Yeah.
And you go in
Yeah,
you go in and there would just be piles of random things on different
like
tables.
Last year's toys. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was kind of cool, especially if you missed out on something, or if companies were getting rid of their excess stock, they'd wind up at like a Cheap John's or a Job Lot or an Odd Lot.
Yeah, and just like Ollie's now.
It was the first time that I had seen, because I had gotten my kind of bootleg Chinese knockoff version of Godzilla, which is still my favorite toy in my collection. But Cheap John's was the first place that I had seen an actual. Granted, it was a generic looking Godzilla, but it was specifically modeled to look like Godzilla. It had the back plates. It had the general look on the face. It was bright green, and I always remember this. It was bright green, and it had lipstick.
Oh yeah. I know.
And I was like, oh, this is he had the wrestler body. He had like the giant, like beefy forearms. Yeah. And I remember getting it because he was at the time he was like $4 or $5, which was unheard of for something that large. And it was really cool and it was really fun. I I still have him somewhere. He's in a bin someplace. He's not my favorite toy. The generic one is ironically, but it was kind of cool to ask your parents to go somewhere, and then you would go, and then if we went there just for you, they would come with you. Like same thing for like Playworld. Playworld was the big thing. You did if you got a good report card, then you got to go to Playworld and you could get something.
Right.
And
I remember Dale and I were home for school. We were in high school, home for school, right? And so we still like bought toys, but it wasn't like common knowledge. Like nobody else we hung around was still buying toys. So we kind of it was kind of our little thing we did, right?
Yeah.
And I remember going, well, I've got a car now. Let's go to Playworld. And we both stayed home from school, went to Playworld. Car broke down on the way home, which wasn't cool. Yeah, it was my 1971 Buick Skylark. I love that car. But yeah, it ended up not being a great day. But the start of it and the middle of it were fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah, and it's nice to sometimes introduce people to different things that they may not have known they were interested in. Like what few buddies that I had in high school, I remember us trying to figure out something to do, and maybe their parent would offer to take us somewhere, and I was like, Playworld or KB. And it was fun. And they were like, they're not asking to go to the liquor store, or they're not asking to go do like something unscrupulous. They just want to go to a toy store. Okay.
Scrupulous.
All right.
Nice. I like that each store offered, like Child World didn't get the new stuff as early, right? And Playworld was always kind of in the middle. Now Toys R Us was always up to date. Like if you wanted the new stuff, it was Toys R Us. But like KB had their own kind of niche, more like those 10-inch X-Men, the Marvel guys. I never saw them anywhere but KB. And the first time I saw them there, it seemed like they were on clearance because I picked a bazillion of them up for $5 a piece. Yeah.
KB was the first place that I would see, because I the first KB that I remember going into was next to Caldors. If you remember Caldors.
My mom worked at Caldors for a little while.
Oh, did she? My sister worked there for a little
never
while.
had a good toy department, though.
Not really. Oh, they would randomly have. For people that don't know, Caldors was essentially a precursor to Kmart. Or I don't know which one came first, but I remember
Kmart was definitely first.
Kmart was around before.
Or like, we have to talk about Woolworths. Anyway, go ahead.
Because we had a Caldors in our area, and I remember either it was there first or they were closer. So I remember going there more often than a Kmart.
Right. We didn't have a Kmart close to us. The closest one was out near whatever the hell.
They were kind of out there. But I remember there was a Caldors, and they had their toy section. I remember them having random knockoff figures because I specifically remember them having. So there is a character in Japanese Transformers in Transformers Victory named Desaurus, or here he's called Deathsaurus, and his alternate form is essentially a giant. It's referred to as just kaiju, but he looks like a giant kind of space chicken almost. He's got giant wings, and he's got like a dragon head, but the end of the head is kind of a beak. But he's a super cool. He's a super cool character, and that figure has a number of different types of knockoffs. And there's one particular version that is replaces most of his color scheme with red, and they retooled him because his standard form is robot into this kaiju, but this knockoff version of him retooled certain parts of him so that he becomes like a space truck, almost like there's wheels and everything on him, which was really weird. And I remember seeing him at Caldors, and
that's interesting.
So this was in like the mid 90s, and I had no clue what it was. I didn't know who he was. He wasn't part of Beast Wars. He wasn't part of Generation 2. And I was like, what is this thing? And the packaging just said, like generic robot man or whatever. And I didn't get him because I didn't have enough at the time, but I was fascinated by him. But Caldors had their own, like types of toys. Then further down in the strip mall was KB. And I remember going in and seeing, like they were the only place that I saw Generation 2 Transformers. They were the only place that I saw the Trendmasters Godzilla line was in KB. And it almost seemed like everything was immediately on sale.
Didn't that KB become a Toys R Us? It became like a mini
The
Toys
one
R Us. The one by Caldor. Well, Caldor is now
I
Coles is now where Caldor
yeah.
was. Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't remember if they got rebranded or if they took over that
Because I
location.
think Toys
They
R
may
Us
have.
bought KB maybe, and they took over that location. It didn't last very long because then
Mhm.
Toys R Us closed and all. But I
Yeah.
vaguely remember that. Down towards Center Moriches. This is the day, right? The only
Mhm.
because I lived in Mastic, you lived in Shirley, right?
No, I was also in Mastic.
Oh, that's right.
Mastic Beach.
I was in Mastic Beach too, which is commonly referred to as Mistake Beach. But the only McDonald's around at the time was way out in Center Moriches.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's hard to believe. You used to have to drive
Yep.
20 minutes to get to a McDonald's, right? But Center Moriches also had the only Wall Bombs at the time, the grocery store,
Yes.
which had the best
That's
fruit
right.
roll-ups, and Woolworth. And
Yes,
Woolworth
Woolworths.
had the Remco toys that you couldn't
Yes.
find anywhere else. Those
Yep.
AWA wrestlers, the Crystar, the Rocky
Mhm.
figures,
Yeah.
all of the Remco stuff was at Woolworth. Sergeant Rock, I used to buy all of my Sergeant Rock toys at Woolworth.
Oh, you know what? I could be misremembering. Didn't Shane's carry Remco stuff?
I am not familiar with Shane's.
Oh, so all right. So Shane's was essentially like I don't know if it was a precursor to, or it was one of those stores very similar to Cheap John's. It was off of William Floyd. They were across from, where was it? There was like a video rental store, and then across the street from it was Shane's, and it was weird because it was like the way the building was set up. It was almost catty corner.
Sound familiar.
It had a giant clown face as the storefront, which was creepy and weird. But inside, they had a lot of generic stuff. But it was kind of a similar setup where it was a lot of like kind of open face tables. There was the registers along the edge of the wall, right by the entrance, and not a whole lot of actual shelving. Maybe for like clothing and stuff, but a lot of it was maybe like waist high tables that had random stuff on it. And I remember seeing RoboForce. I remember seeing RoboForce figures there. I remember seeing Remco guys, but it was mostly the monsters, or maybe that's just what I was paying attention to, because there was that Triceratops kind of
right. It was like the
guy.
AWA buck with the head on it. Yeah. Those things are awesome. I'm glad the conversation went this way because everybody had like Toys R Us and the big, the toy stores. But reminisce about where you find the weird stuff. Did you spend time at where now Target stands on Sunrise Highway, across from where Toys R Us used to be off of Sunrise Highway? So it was like a double thing. You had Toys R Us, and then you had the flea market right across the street.
Yes.
You spend a lot of time because there was a lot of cool, what I now know is the original line, right? When I say they're knockoff Transformers and knockoff Voltron, and it wasn't the knockoff, it was the original stuff, but it was all of the import stuff.
Hello again, Future Tom here. This is kind of where the episode has to end, unfortunately. This was the best that I could do. The rest of the conversation was cut short. We have some bits that I can see if I can cobble together into some shorts for later in the week. That might be kind of fun. But this is kind of the end of it. So I apologize for the abruptness of this ending. I think we've been pretty lucky, all things considered. We've had a lot of episodes and no catastrophic losses for this might be kind of the first. So time for all the social stuff. Give us a like and a follow. Subscribe to the channel if you've enjoyed what you've listened to. Tell your friends, tell your buddies. If you'd like to get a hold of us on Blue Sky, our handle is 2 Guys Talking Toys. That is the number 2, no G after the talking. Same thing for our Gmail. We also have an Instagram, which is 2G Talking Toys. Feel free to jump on there and watch our stuff and see some of our posts and all that fun stuff. So until next time, take care, everybody.